made sure I checked that in the break.
Yeah, researching the important things. So Corki will be the first ban coming in from Millenium. Callista, first ban from Mouse. So a bit of target bans here. Hansama did have some really good games as Callista. And Corki is pretty much, you pick it first if it's open. So yeah, taken away here.
So for those of you that maybe haven't seen Millenium in this form, maybe you saw Joko on the LCS this week and are wondering, what does Millenium look like? Well, Joko's probably going to play Rek'Sai again, because it's the only champion he's really played and has looked very strong on it. But they're all about team fighting. They're all about coordination between everybody. Some split pushing built in there. Thresh has been a big pick for them from the support, but is now banned. We know they like Morgana and Alistar. Those are the two support champions that we're looking at now from Masterwork. Alistar, they've banned out, so it's highly likely going to be the Morg or something else that they're going to choose. They ban out their own Rek'Sai. Ah, okay. It's because they got Dan on the other side.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Dan from Mouse is a big Rek'Sai player. So we're going to see Masterwork on something maybe different.
Yep.
And Joko on something different.
I didn't think I'd ever see the day where Dan would be pulling bans as Rek'Sai, but that's happened last week as well. They banned Rek'Sai against him, and even when they was left open, they still lost. But still, he's pulling those bans, which is really big. Joko can play other things. We've seen him on like Elise, for example, so he plays the meta stuff. It's still fine. Question mark for me is what Masterwork defaults to now, because as you mentioned, Alistar, Thresh,
probably
maybe they Morgana. I would like to see something different, but his Morgana is really, really solid. Landed a lot of bindings I didn't think were possible to land, and still connected them.
So Joko goes to the Graves. I mean, I assume it's Joko.
Could be top lane.
Could be. Haven't seen a whole lot of Graves top lane in the last week.
Yeah.
Not in Europe, anyway. Other leagues we have seen some, but
that's correct.
Not on our shores here.
Not on our shores. That got really.
I don't know what that was for.
No, I don't know.
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just
from
said
me.
it
you went super like.
Okay.
You went kind of Welsh, and I just went Jamaican.
Well, I mean that makes sense. I'm sorry for being Welsh, Charles. Like, that's.
Well, hovering over Nunu, he was changed in 6-2. Changes to E. We're probably not going to see him here, but probably will return to solo queue where he'll annoy a lot of people. More utility, less damage is the TLDR.
TLDR, he can throw a snowball out like every 2 seconds in late game fights. So good luck running away.
Yes, and even though the duration has changed to 2 seconds, if he's doing that every 2 seconds, then you're always CC'd. So have fun with that. Jungle will have the Elise, I believe. Yes, has been locked in.
This makes sense.
Yeah, and then it's a Lucian and Elise.
Yeah, again, same thing we were talking through is now you go down the tier of 80 carries. Who do you look for? They could look for the setup that Vitality ran a lot, which was the Misfortune Morgana lane, which has really strong lane presence. When you look at the amount of damage that comes from Misfortune and the ability for Morgana to proc Thunderlords very easily. If they want to go that side and go full team fight, one of the issues with that is they have the Graves already, which is fairly long range and no crowd control provided by him, so they need crowd control to come from somewhere else if they were opting for that. But there are options. Ezreal is available, Misfortune's available, Corki is not available. I actually feel like Millennium's bans have restricted what they want to play quite significantly in this game. Like, we didn't talk about it, but blue ban Corki is so unheard of.
Yeah, they did get the first pick Graves though, so they still had something to first pick, and they can follow from Morgana, which Masterwork can play, and there's no real priority on that from Mouse. Then they can follow with the Poppy, which they have done.
But what I would say to that is that I think Corki would be a red side ban almost 100%.
Yeah.
So that would then leave Callista or Thresh available, which would give you at least more room to work with.
Yeah.
I don't think
this is what we're banning.
I don't think it's 100% detrimental, but it certainly has made Millennium dig deeper into their own champion pools.
For sure. Waiting for those next 2 pickups from Mouse as well. Tarek now always likes to hover over Tarek.
I was going to say, we're going to have to put up with this now.
Yeah, it's actually his name as well, so he just changed to his real name. So.
Wonder if he has such an obsession with gems.
Ooh, maybe.
This is an interesting
Minerals
1-2 combo. Janna and
He's
Maokai.
back.
So we saw Maokai in our first series of the day. With that, I was going to say Thunderlords, but I mean Grasp of the Undying.
Yes.
With Grasp of the Undying, real difficult to get him out of lane. With Janna now alongside the Lucian, it's a lane we've seen a fair amount. And the one way that Jana Lucian tends to struggle is without engage potential. If you don't have the ability to step up and really do anything else other than just hit the turret a couple of times, you tend to have to back away. You can't really do too much. With a Maokai now, you step up as a three or four person stack, and suddenly you can get behind that turret. Suddenly you can get somebody that's at least out of position, or at least just kind of posture.
Yeah.
So that you're forcing people back. Exactly. Have the presence around the turret so that people can't just walk up and go, oh, you're a Jana. That's a Vayne.
It is a Vayne, and Handsama as well. Like, if there's any AD carry in the league, okay, maybe apart from Holy Things as well, who can swing a Vayne, we'll pick this one here. We saw Sophia play it?
Yeah, we did see Sophia play it, and we saw not a great performance.
No.
He had too short range and too little damage to consistently get into the fight. Yep. He was always zoned away by these big picks that were pushing him backwards. Maokai is going to be one of those picks, which is kind of like advancing on the Vayne, and the Vayne has to be on the back foot. It's only when you can get through the Maokai as a frontline target, which Vayne ultimately will be able to later in the game. But then it's on the rest of Millenium to be enough of a threat to protect that Vayne. You have the Lulu, which actually got through to the last rotation.
Yep.
You have the Poppy to disengage 2 or 3 people maybe out of a fight. And the ability to stop most of them, as we alluded to, won't stop Maokai.
Yeah. Black Shield and Ultimate is a big deal. So this is really like...
And the smoke screen.
All Graves. In on Hansama plus the Graves, who will be able to do some stuff in the early game. I was thinking, oh, it might be a top lane Graves for a second, because we have seen some jungle Poppy. The big change is Maokai just coming back.
Yeah.
Really big. We saw CJ Enters pick this one up, Untara. And like it did well, but it was also seeing games where it's lost as well. I like it into Poppy because it's not a dash. You are untargetable, so you go underneath and can CC. So that's one thing. But with Morgana as well, like you're still going to be able to block the Twisted Advance.
Mao's comp on the other side, however, feels very reminiscent of like a mid-2015 comp, where you've got some kind of engage coming from the top lane. You've got a wave clear mid laner like a Victor, that control mage, with just like a strong duo lane in the bottom lane. And it kind of has a lot of bases covered here. You have strong jungler, you have the ability to 2v2 plus engage potential. I quite like it. Millenium are running a difficult composition to run. That's the other side. We've talked about how they need coordination. Like, this comp requires coordination. It requires full confidence in Hans Sama, in both himself and his team. Like, everybody has to work around him.
Millenium is the team I've been most impressed with in terms of team play, though, in Challenger.
That is true.
If there's a team that can pull it off, it's probably Millenium. I said the same thing about Hans Sama, but he's the linchpin of this composition. So jump on Twitter and tell us what you think about these compositions, because this is an interesting one. # MILWin and # MOUWin. And we'll be jumping into this game very shortly. You just pointed at the Thunderlords in from Tarek on Lucian. And
not always seen.
No, but has been sitting in both.
Yes.
Can go for Fervor, can go for Thunderlords. It just depends where you want to spike in the game. Thunderlords is more aimed at like laning phase early into the game for the burst, and we'll do a little bit more later. But Fervor is ultimately more damage over time in a team fight.
Yeah, and that's what Hans Sama's got as well. Unsurprisingly on Vayne. An auto-attacking based AD carry who is going to chunk through tanks later.
I'm going to go Storm Raiders.
Well, that sapling stops the invade. This is something that Millenium have done in almost every game. I say almost every game. Probably about half of the games that we've seen from them. They've stacked 5 people towards the top side. It's yet to work.
One.
I'm also including qualifier games, if I'm going to be honest.
Half of 2.
It didn't really work then. It hasn't really worked now.
Yep.
It's a nice try. There is going to be one time where people don't scout Millenium properly, and that catches them off guard.
Yeah. But they do the same thing every game.
But if you do the same thing, like in half of games, it becomes very easy to read. And clearly Maus knew that was coming, because Beansy was like, well, I'm just going to throw a sapling, and that's going to guard this entrance.
And that's it, really. And because the sapling was placed down so early because of the invade timing, he can still go to his Raptors and take these away. I want to see if he donates it to Sebex, though, because there's a play you can do in the early game where you set up 2 saplings and then the laser comes across. You can do it with Orianna as well, where you just use command attack, and it gives your mid laner a nice little boosted lane. I don't believe Sevex did it there.
No.
But yeah, basically it gives you like a third of your level, so you hit the level 2 before your opponent, and you can maybe make a play off that spike.
Yeah, to put that in real-time terms, you hit level 2 off the first wave, not off the second wave. Normally in the 1v1, it's the first minion off the second wave.
7 minions total.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if you have that experience advantage, it allows you to get it off the first wave. You can always pressure out at that level, that level disparity between the two.
Yep, there's Masterwork, landing bindings. Handsammer though, the big punish from Taric. But actually doesn't get a lot of autos off. He takes a lot of free damage from Handsammer because he didn't manage to get the last autos off.
Good
That was a very predictable one though, and Masterwork will punish him. Handsammer has to jump out of the way, and there's the heal as well. Taric doesn't get it, but Masterwork with the wards and the first blood over to the Morgana. Now Rux does not get CC'd up, does not land the binding, but that 2v2 kill onto Taric.
Wow. Okay, so a lot happened in such a short space of time in that situation. Like, MOUs won the first part of the trade, then Handsammer trades it back in favor of Millenium. For some reason, Taric goes aggressive once again, thinks he can get more damage and eats the binding out of Masterwork. That, again, should be another signal for MOUs to stop trading, because you're taking too much damage. And Taric continues to trade. Like, he flashes forward. Yes, they had an exhaust onto Handsammer, but continues to go aggressive in this trade, and the Morgana ultimately just auto-attacks him to death.
Handsammer was low, but he still had the heal. Like, he wasn't in range of dying.
Handsammer hit a really good tumble halfway through that as well. Like, there was a lot in that engage. Misplays from MOUs, but good plays on Millenium as well. Like, that was a really intricate 2 versus 2. That I really would want to watch again.
Yeah, additionally, the setup was important because Taric got some harass down to Handsammer, which looked really good, but then he didn't follow with the auto attacks, kind of wobbled back and forth while Handsammer just autoed him in the face like 3 times, and then he backed away. It was really, really curious. But the 1-0, the outplay, and if you were going to make this composition work, having an early kill into that lane, which you're putting a lot of your eggs into, is really, really, really nice. And Taric is getting locked up here, has to flash away, but Rux is on the receiving end of the line. Doesn't get the damage off as Rux has to flash away. A bot lane now from MOUs is summonerless.
Yeah, that is not a good spot to be in, because Handsammer, all he's going to do is just last hit these minions. He's not going to push. He's just going to let this push in towards him, and that gives MOUs a real difficult task right now. Yes, Masterwork will somewhat push it, but look at the position on the Tormented Soil. It actually only clipped 2 minions, rather than being in the minion wave, and still it gets the proc onto MOUs. Don't worry, as we go into the replay, we will not lose any time. This is the 2 versus 2, so the first binding goes onto Rux here. And this is where MOUs should look to back away. They're trading into the minions here as well. Not a lot of minion damage at first, but it starts mounting up on Taric. And here's the binding. Again, MOUs get the damage down onto Handsammer, but Taric gets greedy. They don't respect the heal here. And between minion damage and Masterwork's auto attacks, that was MOUs misreading the trade a couple of times there. We did miss a little trading in the lane, but not too much.
Important to mention, now if a binding lands from Masterwork into that bottom lane, someone's probably going to die.
Yeah.
Handsammer is 30 CS to 16. That is a Lucian Janna lane currently losing to a Vayne one. Taric aggressive once again, maybe able to punish. Double tap onto Masterwork. Handsammer now has to back off.
That time he gets away with it because Masterwork was predicting the initial aggression but wasn't predicting the dash forward. Binsu is going to drop low.
Yeah, but he's able to jump to Kaze and back off to his tower. Luckily that is Twisted Advance, which is not a dash, so he will survive that one. In the jungle though, Dan, kinda chilling, looking for something to happen. Now he's seen by this ward, so his timing window to go for this gank is closing. And Binsu is not in range, so Kaze will get a bit of damage out, bump him away, and
if
head back to
Binsu
his
had been
tower.
here.
Yeah, might have been a kill. That being said, Dan was taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, Dan did take a lot of damage. I just think if Binsu had been there, Joker was around as well, so that is the other side of that. But Binsu's got himself a good advantage as well. In this 1 versus 1, you can see how difficult it is for Kaze, really, without going completely all in on Binsu, how difficult it is for him to do anything here. Joko going very aggressive here, knowing that Dan is very likely to have recalled. Problem with that is Dan having been lower side jungle means Dan realistically doesn't have a lot of camps in the bottom side either. So the actual worth of this invade is fairly low. It's the wolf camp. Did he smite it? He could. Does he want the vision? No.
There we go. Answered that question. Maokai is one of the more interesting tanks when it comes to... Nope, okay.
I was going to say Grom just spawned as well, so
right.
he does get a little bit more
as
out
well.
of it.
Yeah, Joko heading into the boss side now, and speaking of Maokai, maybe caught out by Joko, will get the damage against the wall. And Kaze jumps over the wall as well, pops the ultimate after Binsu flashes, so mistimed there just a little.
The stun didn't connect there, did it?
No.
I was looking at my screen
Too late.
for a second, but... Oh, condemn into the wall.
Might be enough damage on Rux, he'll be chasing after, but now trading into Tarek as well. The damage in return is a lot, but Hansan with the heal. Tarek may have just gotten baited, and there's the kill once again. Now the teleport comes out, and Binsu is just simply not in range. He already used a flash in that prior engagement, so he's not going to get the kill. And again, the 2v2 kill over to the bot lane of Hansan and Masterwork.
Tarek is getting baited in by the heal timing every single time here. Like, Tarek is not reading the summoner spell timings from Millenium. And it's 2 for 2 resulted in his deaths. Like, I don't know what is breaking down between Rux and Tarek here, but this is a really weird situation for them to be in. Like, this 2v2 is such a weird one to see. Like, Vayne into Lucian is not too bad when you look at it. Like, it's really not a great matchup with a Janna there to give Lucian the extra trading damage, but the fact that Tarek is eating bindings and mistiming trades is making this lane really difficult for him.
Lucian Janna should be fine. Like, you should be able to punish a Vayne lane, but now when Vayne is level 60, you're level 4 on Lucian, you are in major issues. Handsama is just so far ahead now with that Vamp Sep. He has awesome more gold to spend. Joko now into the enemy jungle, should be able to steal this one away with the timings as Dan is still in his bottom jungle. And because of that ward that he placed down earlier, he knows exactly where the enemy jungler is. So even though this would usually be risky because the enemy top duo is there, and it should be a full-man collapse, he has the warding. So nice setup from Joko.
And the problem with a lot of these trades, or at least something that's playing into it in favor of Millenium as Joko heads into top, is extended trades is going to favor further a battle.
Here comes Kaze, great Monsoon, really nice timing on that, will knock away Kaze as he jumps in with his E. So all that disengaged by Janna.
A lot used there, like that was a fair amount used with a teleport coming in. Joko has stayed though. And is taking out that pink ward. Now looking for the top lane push. Pulls back down into his own jungle though.
Yeah. Tarek and Rux still in this top lane. I want to go back down to that bottom lane though, because Binsu is currently 80 CS compared to 51, and is now able to roam up for this dragon with the mid lane, and this should easily go over to Elise and co. And Kaze can't really do anything about it, they'll just donate over blue. So, speaking of Maokai being one of the more interesting tank matchups, he has a lot of potential to actually kill his opponent in lane. Like, sometimes you'll see a double Doran's Ring even, and then into Catalyst for his laning phase, and if he doesn't really need the tankiness and just wants the extra mana from the minions he kills, and his kill potential is actually pretty good compared to other tanks. Like, he can actually, like, 30% to 0 you, that type of thing. Back when Maron used to play it very, very long time ago, he was actually one of the top laners who could actually start getting kills versus like top laners like Steve, who would just be on that champion or Rumble and just kind of go even.
Yeah, that's fair to say. At this point, you can see right now the duo lane of Hansama and Masterwick just sitting in the bush. Thing is, Tarek just sends out that Ardent Blaze, gets the vision, is like, oh, there you are.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
I just had our observers check what Hansama was running. If he was running in the Emperor setup, where you go 12 and resolve, because that may be throwing off the summoner spell timings for Tarek. Oh, the flash! And he lands it onto Rux, knocks him against the wall, should be able to get the condemn, even goes for the positioning, has been exhausted, but with the follow-up CC from Masterwork, he still also goes down. And Tarek is now back at his turret, having to see his support die.
Oh, here comes Dan though. Hansama now has no flash, heal is up. Masterwork is the one that could be caught out, but nothing comes of Dan roaming top here.
In the mid lane, we may see a Graves gank come across. Sevex is lower mana, but Joko is actually just in the jungle taking this one away. I'm not sure if he was seeing that. Yeah, he was. Sevex actually pings that one out, and Kaze will head into the jungle. But Sevex is fairly low on resources. Now pretty edging ahead.
Poppy's here as well.
Joko is looking for this. The damage against the wall of end of the line and the ultimate. He will flash away from him, but Kaze being there will pick up that kill onto Sevex, and Dan does not land the cocoon. He'll be backing away. Now from the bottom lane, Beansu's looking for the clap, but who does he really collapse onto? It's Lulu, who is able to CC him, slow him down, speed herself up, pop her ultimate.
Dan has really struggled in this game to get anything done. He's basically been farming the entire time and really hasn't been involved. There have been no kills that have come from his involvement and has always been behind the play. Like on the top lane, now in the mid lane. He's just lagging behind where Joko is on the map. And, you know, we were questioning, how did Joko's time with the Unicorns of Love affect his practice with Millenium? We haven't seen conclusively just yet, but Joko has done nothing to make us believe anything other than what we saw from Millenium last week. There have been no real mispositions from Joko here. He's played mostly a kind of a solo game, going into the bottom jungle, clearing that out. Dan, however, is going to try and make the first play of the game.
See ya.
Oh, he got Maokai with that. Dan has the turnaround. That's a win.
That is a win. Yeah, Beansu just goes back to farming. Dan is... Like, his problems with being late to the play is exacerbated here because he hasn't finished his first item, being the Cinderhulk, whereas Joko has. So he's going to continue being behind. Now Joko's in the enemy jungle, placing down wards. He can do so because the top lane is behind. The support and the jungler is in the bottom lane, so they can't even contest. And Joko, the enemy jungle, is now his jungle. And he can do whatever he wants.
The only thing that's really going remotely well for Mouse is the fact that Beansu is so far ahead in this this 1v1 top lane matchup. It actually doesn't transition to too much gold difference. It's only just over 100 gold difference between the two, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Which, considering the CS difference, feels a little odd, but the kill does balance that out from mid lane. And that's all from Kaze saying, okay, well, I'm not getting anything done in my lane. I'm going to another lane.
Mid lane now being sieged in by Joko and Pretty. They should be able to get this, but that minion is low. There's the ultimate as well. He tries to burst him down, and with Dan coming in from the side, maybe they can get something to happen. A perfect cleanse coming in from Pretty, and they disengage.
Oh,
Joko with the BM!
Whoa!
This is one thing I've missed from Joko. Oh, Kaze and the Beansu going at it, but now at this point when they've built so many items, they both have their first big items, so they're not really going to kill each other. And they will just back away. But yeah, Joko, holding that for a second as Pretty takes some damage in the mid lane, but Sevex low on mana. Joko was BMing a lot last week. And then did it in LCS as well.
I think Kaze did it as well, didn't you? Like a lot of that coming out from the Millenium guys last week. But
I specifically remember a moment.
That's
it's
the way going with the ult.
On for a second as Tarek will get the stun. And Hansama has been exhausted. The Monsoon to push them both away. They'll still split up the fight. Kaze coming in. She'll be able to get him against the wall and do a bit of damage. But Kaze is doing so much, actually. Hansama now able to close back in. Dan coming into this fight. She'll be able to finish off Masterwork. Gets that kill. Kaze now backs off to his AD carry. And Pretty coming up just to assist, just in case, as Sevex was moving in from the mid lane. So ultimately, that led to a 1-0 for the first kill to Mousesports.
Finally, Mouse gets something from this game, and it's all from having the numbers advantage. Dan was there for the beginning of a play at this point. As they were running down, Dan was already heading up to that top lane and already looking to get himself in the mix. So finally, Mouse gets something, but Millenium still have a good lead. Just kind of good timing from Mouse to catch Millenium right as Joko had recalled.
To finish a point that I was making around 5 minutes ago now, a lot of action just happened since then. But Hansama is actually running 18-12, not 18-0-12, so not running the Emperor setup.
Okay.
So Tarek and Rooks should not really be thrown off at all by the timings. It's a flat 5 minutes and a flat 4 minutes on heal. So they should just know the timings. There's nothing to throw them off there. Because if they did, it would be 45 seconds as a reduction.
Learning with Pulse.
Yeah. I got you.
You got me, bro. It's all good. One thing that seems to have been learned on the Mouse side of things is that Sevex has Aftershock this game. He picked it up first. Got those boots of swiftness with it as well. That's what you need from a Victor. Like, screw damage for now. Like, I can get damage on 3 items.
Yeah, he's Victor.
Like, all I need is wave clear. Like, I actually still quite like Lucidity Boots Victor. I don't think there's a massive need for swiftness boots. I mean, looking at it, there are slows that come from like Lulu here. You know, a little bit from
How
Grace.
did that
Oh
land?
What?
And now Tarek is just probably gonna die. Masterwork does not connect the second half of his ultimate. Mid lane though, Joko in this one-on-one against Dan does not get finished off. It was actually a 1v2 as Sevex was coming in with the damage, and bot lane will carry on trading. I don't understand how Masterwork.
They gotta be careful. Both summoners are up for
and
Millenium.
Hansama jumping after Tarek will get knocked up here. And there's the flash and the slam against the wall, but the heal, or rather the shield, is there from Rooks.
Well, that was a weird one from Hansama. I mean, he knew there was no real way of killing there.
Yeah.
Like, that one was the first time I've seen Hansama go aggressive like that without actually seemingly thinking about it. I think he thought he was too far ahead, or further ahead than he actually was. Close.
That wouldn't have even been a kill if there was no shield there.
Yeah.
Additionally, there was the Monsoon just in case, so yeah, definitely off the mark. Top lane, Kaze will take away this top lane turret. Still behind in terms of CS from Binsu, but the kill is making that up and is heading towards the second item. Additionally, on the swiftness boost point for Sevex, it's very nice against Masterwork.
Yeah.
Because Masterwork, when he pops the ultimate, you want to get away from that, you don't want to get stunned.
Yeah, what I would say is
he's never really going to get in range.
Kind of a caveat to that. It is not necessarily that, but once you augment the second, you get the Q augment that gives you extra movement speed. So, like, it's not. It's just a stylistic choice again. Like, it's not a massive problem at all. But just one extra thing to think about in that thought process.
I think it may be more like mid-game focused, because that's when it really pays off. You'll have that upgrade later on into the game, but there's a small window where you do not. So it might cover for that gap, but this is like very, very nitpicky and very, very micro.
For the record, he has it, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, don't worry. It's one of those situations
the window is gone.
The window is gone. Bottom lane, the window might be about to shut on Tarek and Rux.
Well, Hansama goes right through the Howling Gale, and now it'll turn on Rux as well. The flash falls, the binding from Masterwork, and again the 2v2 trade, and this time they come up with 2 kills.
This is just Millenium's bottom lane putting on a clinic. Like, the rest of Millenium are just like, okay, you guys get this game. Like, just you carry this one, we'll do the next one, because, well, the rest of the map isn't doing anything inherently wrong for Millenium either. They're just playing their role. Joko's caught, though. And
Binsu's there as well with the lockdown. He'll pop the ultimate to try and get away a little bit, and it's fairly tanky, especially pretty there, but it's not enough. Now Kaze will come into the fight. Dan will come away here, and Kaze will pop his ultimate, finish him off with the auto attack as he comes out of the stasis. Masterwork in from the side. Now they'll back away and carry on pushing this mid lane. Binsu and Sevex were trunked out enough that they cannot defend this.
And Joko in that fight, even though he fell, he actually was just stutter-stepping for long enough in that fight that he just soaked up more time. Just enough time to allow Masterwork and Kaze to come into the fight. And again, it's another situation where Millenium are giving over a kill and gaining so much more from it. They're getting a turret. They got bottom lane turret as well with Hansama pushing down there. This is a very crisp, very clean setup, and MOUs are just struggling to keep up. Look at the gold difference. This is the first time I've really focused my eyes on that gold difference in this game. 19 minutes, 9,000 gold. Just about is the lead for Millenium.
It's kind of crazy. Millenium were the team who were always playing from the back foot in the qualifiers. And then when they were ahead against Huma, they punished them so hard. And we're seeing the exact same thing here with Mouse. I would really like to see this bottom lane, Hansama and Masterwork, up against one of the stronger bot lanes. Going to hold that for a second as we see that last fight unfold.
Yeah, so this is the time where you can see, like, Joko should be just 100% dead here, but the fact that he's got a Lulu allows him to just kite back. Always, like, auto-attack move, auto-attack move. And what it means is Dan and Binsu have to stick on him for that little bit longer, and it allows Kaze to come right into the fight and look to set up another couple of kills.
And even though they just got 1 kill, Sevex again caught by end of the line. Dan is also there to assist. The cocoon does not land, and Dan is able to finish off this camp. But they were able to chunk out the rest of the members, specifically Binsu, so he had to go back, which meant they could pick up the middle turret, which was the key thing.
I just feel like from now 3 games of watching MOUs, I don't feel like they're in control at any point of what is happening in the game as a unit. Like, as 5 people as one team, I don't feel like their game plan is clear.
Yeah.
Because this now has moved from a situation where you need to clear mid with Victor to you have to respect Millenium's ability to just push around this vein. And that's what they're trying to do here, but the numbers just aren't here for MOUZ yet.
Dan jumps right into the enemy team, and Hansammer wants him dead, but more likely Sevix will be falling here. Does not manage to get through there, doesn't have the black shield. Now he does. All that shielding on Hansammer. He's going to become a serious issue when we get these grouped up fights.
And what happened in that engage was MOUZ were actually looking for it, but Binsu started the teleport, and it got cancelled by Kaze, I believe. Which is just a big, big difference. Yeah. If he actually gets to that fight, he can do pretty much anything he wants right there. But I'm pretty sure it got cancelled by
well, I'll let you work on that. We'll get back to the game in a second.
Oh, Kaze ran into top lane and used his ult. Just knocked him up.
Oh, man.
Knew exactly where he was TPing from, even though he was out of vision. So that's Kaze just doing enough of a job to hold that fight.
Oh, Hansammer here for this one-on-one. I don't feel like Maokai's going to get the better of Vayne in this situation, but he's going to put down a little bit of damage. He'll flash away from something, but now he'll follow after Dan. Gets a cocoon up. Can anyone actually save Hansammer here? Well, he'll save himself by killing Elise instead. There's double kill. Pretty chasing after Tarek. Dodges out the glitter lance. Very nice.
Very nice, but he's already been pushed away. Like, that's enough for what needed to happen in this situation. Yep. Pretty's getting a bottom tower. A Lulu just took a tower against a Lucian.
An inner tower as well.
An inner tower. And like, that's a 4-level advantage for Lulu. Pretty is that far ahead that he can just straight up take out Tarek.
Really ridiculous. Joko will lead the charge and Kaze will come in soon after. The ultimate comes up, Tarek comes back down, the binding lands onto Rux, body blocking that for his AD carry. Sevix may be a little too far forwards, but there's nothing to lock him down. There's the ultimate, but it's Joko. He has the Hex Drinker, which will be popped right there.
Pretty's on the inhib tower. It's nearly dead.
Yeah, like, he's going to have to deal with this 1v2.
He has to back away, but that inhib tower is nearly dead. It's like under a quarter of the health remaining from a Lulu that's just pushing down there. It's like, okay, team, you take it.
Yep.
I got this.
Yeah, classic split push Lulu.
Lulu, the champion that normally has to group with the rest of the team when you have a Vayne, is just like, you don't need me. Like, it's got to the point where Millenium do not need their entire composition around this Vayne in a protect the Vayne comp to win the fights. Like, that is not supposed to happen at any point.
No, maybe it's because they've been so far ahead in all of their games, but, well, Dan has been called out here. Masterwork pops his ultimate. He'll get the CC regardless as Repel comes up. And in the bot lane, Binsu, Hansammer actually going to knock him into the bush, so he has to wait a little bit longer before killing the tree. Now in the top lane, collateral damage picks up Dan as well. The flash over the wall, Tarek, leave me alone.
I mean, what do you do in this game if you're MOUZ? Like,
toying with his feet.
Honestly, this is like one of those solo queue games where you're like, oh god, we've got a Vayne on our team. It's gonna feed. Then Vayne goes like 5-0 in laning phase, and you're like, well, you just won me the game. Thanks for the carry. Because Millenium have not had to make any real decisions in this game. Because just purely from the 2v2 work that Millenium got done from Masterwork and Hansammer, there were mistakes from MOUZ in the 2 versus 2 as well. But man, like, Hansammer has been on point, flashing for the condemns into the wall time and time again.
It's been really fantastic to watch, and as I was trying to say earlier, I wonder if, like, Pretty, we've constantly seen him on, like, passive mid laners just be really aggressive and kill everyone. Like Anivia, he was being so aggressive early into the game and not just clear waves. Likewise on Lulu, could be an effect of just them being so far ahead, but really another great performance from him.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, I'm looking for things to take away from MOUZ that are positives.
This could be a good trade. The Masterwork lands ultimate onto 2. Dan has to back away. Joko is just kind of not taking damage
right now. He's just teeing off. He's actually just teeing off right now on Dan. Like, Dan has to repel.
And Joko carries on trading with Binsu. He's fairly low on mana. He may get taken out. There's a cocoon. He'll flash and get this kill. There's the shutdown in from Binsu. That was an incredibly long trade. And meanwhile, while all that was happening, they were just losing their base. Yeah,
what did they actually lose from that? I don't believe they actually lost too much more. They lost the inhib in the bottom, which I think had already gone. Now they got top inhib as well from that trade. So regardless of whether it was got during the trade with Dan and Joko, Millenium have put themselves, I would say, in a commanding position, but they've been in one for 10 minutes.
If not longer.
Like, realistically, Millenium have had this game won for 10 minutes already. Like, there are very few games that I like to say this game is done. 6-0-2 Vayne against this Mouse composition. Unless some massive mistake comes out from Millenium, this game's done.
25 minutes in, 15,000 gold ahead.
Yeah.
Like, that almost never happens. And
No, it does not
Millenium.
happen.
8 towers to 0. 8 towers to 0. And 12 kills. This is, well, this game is basically done for Mouse. They just need to look towards the next game here. This is a best of 2. Maybe they can pull away with a win and then 1 point for each team. But Pretty's going to get damaged here, but he doesn't even pop his ultimate.
It doesn't even shield.
Summoners.
He didn't even shield.
Like, that's how little damage that Sebex has compared to this team of Millenium being so far ahead. Now the Baron's being taken. Honestly, Millenium could probably lose this Baron and still win in a push. And goodbye jungler.
Goodbye.
So, yeah, even if he wanted to smite that, that's not going to happen.
Although, you know, spider hunting maybe with a hammer isn't the best thing to do around your apartment if you're trying to, like...
Perhaps. Keep everything together.
I guess arachnophobics probably are just like, I don't care whether I kill my wall, I'm just going to, like, get this
if you got the
spider out of here.
Joko just not taking damage.
Dan, however, does. This is, like, damage from mostly Masterworks Tormented Soil.
Really not much to comment on here. Like, they're just all dying.
They're already dead.
Yeah, like Joko, Beansu uses a Twisted Advance on the target that already has Black Shield, and now Halensama will just clean up. There's the first kill, looking for his second, but he's knocked into the tower by Beansu, so he'll pick up the kill. Sebex just taps him for the kill. All of that damage was basically from the Nexus turret, and now Millenium will probably close this one in.
Yeah,
the last inhib's going to go down.
Two waves of super minions, now Baron up minions as well, with no real ability to wave clear outside of Victor, means this game is going to be done mostly by the minions. Millenium will look to push it in through as well.
Yeah, Beansu is just going to hang it around. He's trying to delay the game, and Millenium is the type of team who will kill you before finishing off the game. So that is what they're doing here.
Play for KDA.
If Joko has a chance to start recalling, I believe he will, but the Nexus should be falling here very soon. It is literally just Millenium playing with the food at this point. And there's a nice flashy ultimate at the end. Millenium 1-0 so far.
Wow. I mean, that's 3 on the bounce.
It is.
Almost identical
and
games.
all crushing wins.
Like, so fast. Very impressive. Like, we knew Millenium, everybody that has, you know, other challenger casters, people that, you know a lot about the challenger scene, everyone was like, Millenium are good, Millenium are good. I didn't think Millenium were going to be, like, this good.
Yeah,
like, this
they didn't show that in the qualifiers. Like, they were just solid.
Honestly, these wins, whether it's the meta, whether it's Millenium playing clean, is still kind of up in the air. These wins are cleaner than we've seen other challenger teams, even spring and summer of last year.
Yep.
Like, when you looked at Origin as a team, I would say Origin looked like a better team overall when it's like, you know, at the time you're like looking at prospects for the future. But I think the games have been so much more impressive from Millenium than other challenger teams we've seen.
There was more expectation on Origin,
exactly.
I would say that. And also in the individual lanes, they just outclassed everyone else. And it was just like, well, Origin's going to go to the LCS, and now we're looking at future prospects. But with Millenium, there weren't really that many expectations from the public.
Yeah.
Internally, when you talk to teams, when you talk to players, yes, they're a very good team. This good? Yes, I agree. Maybe not quite this good is what we expected. And that's the biggest thing. They have looked impressive in their macro play, in their micro play. And one of the teams we praised the last split, which was Team Dignitas, even though they were pretty solid around Dragons, that's all they defaulted to. Whereas Millenium have way more in their playbook.
My reservation on like what comes next for Millenium, we are only halfway through a series. Like, this one isn't over yet.
Yes.
This still could be a tie. They played against Huma last week, and Huma showed up today, didn't show up last week. Can Millenium do that against like Huma if they show up? Yeah. Maybe against the likes of Copenhagen Wolves when they're playing well. I'm looking forward to that clash of styles. It feels like Millenium are too much for Mouse in this series, though.
I was going to say in the game as well, but then a lot of action happened, that I would like to see the bottom lane go up against a more difficult bottom lane, and part of that goes back to Holy Phoenix. I would like to see them go up against an AD carry like that and see how they perform when he's on point. Like, if they went up against this week's Holy Phoenix, that would have been an interesting matchup. We will see them play in the playoffs if they both make it, but the way the round robin works, not going to see each other again for the next couple of weeks until playoffs.
That bottom lane may be the Pinoy Nukes a lot.
Nukes a lot,
lane.
yeah. That could be
an interesting one. I feel like they probably like eat SK's bottom lane alive.
Yeah.
Like we saw the SK bottom lane kind of rough against
Some of the weaker
the Pinoy
lanes,
lane,
yeah.
And it was rough, but man, I was really impressed. Not okay, so Mouse did make mistakes in that laning phase, but then to be able to capitalize on it with the Vayne and then get exactly what you need out of that laning phase was really impressive. I really liked watching that game.
I want to see what Mouse do in the next game as well in terms of adaptation, because so far they haven't shown a whole lot in week 1 or week 2. We need to see something big from them. We're going to take a quick break while our teams reset for the last match of the day, so don't touch your keyboard. We'll be right back.